Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do, and I'll bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msvnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. Three-man front.
11 o'clock here on Three-Man Front. Hope you're doing well on a beautiful Wednesday here in the state of Alabama. Maybe that means good weather for UAB and Jacksonville State coming up tonight, nationally televised on ESPN. Kickoff at 6:30. They're in Montgomery, but you can hear it right here on Jocks 94.5. Your home for UAB Blazer football with a pregame broadcast beginning with myself and Pat Smith at 5:30. Pat, are you ready? Have you prepared?
I have prepared.
Okay.
I am ready.
Good.
I'm ready for the broadcast tonight.
Ready.
Ready to go.
All right, shaking off the rust.
Yes.
And you'll be providing, I'm guessing, score updates from all the other games going on across the country tonight?
Well, you know what? There's only one game tonight, so we'll have other things that we will be talking about.
Golly, wouldn't you die for a little Maction? I mean, it's great that they have I'm just saying for your sake, and the scoreboard updates.
Hey, listen, after last year with the COVID games that got moved, that got canceled, that got postponed, even during basketball, John and I were doing UAB basketball on Friday and Saturday nights during this last Conference USA basketball season. So, sometimes we'd have a game, then all of a sudden we'd find out, well, no, team's not going to be available to play tomorrow. So we will pivot. We will make it a dadgum great broadcast tonight.
Yeah. UAB currently, last check, was a 16.5-point favorite over Jacksonville State.
Are you playing it tonight on the Office Football Pool?
I will be, and my pick is not going to be any of your concern. So, Mr. 6-2 last week.
I was just asking if you were going to play it.
If you were one of those, Pete Rosing and betting on your own team, that's what he was trying to know.
Oh. Well, there's a good chance I will be betting on my own team. Just throwing it out there. Texas A&M, they're betting on Jimbo Fisher. He gets a big pay raise, an extension through 2030. He's getting around $1.5 million of a raise per year. He was $75 million 10 years when he originally inked the deal there in College Station. So Texas A&M rewarding Jimbo Fisher for winning double-digit games.
Mm-hmm.
Boy. And with that schedule and based on the expectations that you have, you better do it this year. You go and you roll out a 9-3. I think the Aggie faithful, as understanding as they have been in the past, and I think as grateful as they were for last year, you know what success can do to a fan base.
Well, as you mentioned, the schedule sets up perfectly for Texas A&M. Of course, they got to win that big one with Alabama coming to town. That would be huge to be able to propel them for the second half of the season. But the first half of the season, without a question, it sets up just pristine for them to try to be at least undefeated against Alabama.
And golly, you talk about a fan base that's appreciative and just loves their football. Going back to what Eli Drinkwitz said about Missouri fans, hey, we've done our part. Come here, invest yourselves and be in this stadium Saturday when they take on Central Michigan. Well, how about Nebraska, who absolutely looked awful on the road last week and the loss to Illinois? They got Fordham coming in on Saturday, and they still sold it out. 376 consecutive sellout.
Well, that will be one of the questions that we'll dive into in Pat Ponders.
Well, you got to let me know.
Well, no, that's okay because, again, these are all sealed. They're in sealed envelopes. No one knows except myself the contents of this envelope. That way it's a complete surprise when I break these questions out.
You talk about a number or an interesting start. Zeb Nolan, the grad assistant that actually came down to be a graduate assistant for Shane Beamer when he took over that job, he's going to come back and play a little quarterback because of Luke Doty being hurt. And I know that this came up, but you start thinking about it, and this is a guy who played at, FCS, right? He played at an FCS school, but it's North Dakota State.
Mm-hmm.
Played in a pretty good program. And after they lose to Sam Houston State in the quarterfinals last year, he thinks his football career is over, but here comes Zeb Nolan. He's going to be getting the start.
So this is kind of like the movie Invincible?
It really is.
Wasn't that the movie?
Yeah.
Vince, what was his last name?
Papali.
Yeah.
For he
Eagles.
comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Or Scott Bakula in necessary roughness.
Oh, I thought you were going to say quantum leap.
Oh, no, this is necessary roughness when he goes to play for the North Texas State Armadillos.
True. That's true.
And, comes back and plays for that creepy guy who played the head coach. I forget the actor's name.
Creepy guy that played the head coach.
Well, he was the guy that was so snooty in Pretty Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Okay.
You understand what I'm talking about, right?
Sure.
Braves lose again last night to the Dodgers 3-2.
Jason Alexander, that's who you're thinking of.
I was going to point this out.
He was snooty too. But.
It's extremely fascinating if you go back and you listen to the podcasts of the last 2 days, and the Braves have lost both games to the Dodgers, and this was the first mention in 2 days of the Braves losing a baseball game.
Okay. Bernard Thompson was the name of the actor, by the way. See how this shifted away from it. 2.5 games up on the Phillies. They won again yesterday over the Nationals.
And you know who the last 3 games of the season's against, don't you?
I think it's we're playing the Phils, right?
Phillies.
Yeah.
Last 3 games of the season. Now, before you get there, you still have to go to San Francisco,
still got the Giants.
I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But
we get the Rockies coming up for 4.
You got the Nats. You got, I think, the Marlins.
And Marlins are in there too.
That'll be some fun if it's only 2.5 game lead come those last 3 games.
Tempered my expectations. Go Braves. Bye. Yeah. So Bernard Thompson, you remember that guy?
I see the picture on your desktop, so yeah, I do now.
Okay, how about Archetype? It's a name you need to remember. Archetype Health, right there in Homewood 2 years ago. My back totally went out. Pat had to be of assistance to me. Well, that's just no way to live. Not that there's anything wrong with you helping out, but, I mean, you were a great team and you helped me out because I couldn't get around. I couldn't move around. I was in unbearable pain. I never experienced it, never had any prior back problems, and just out of the blue. I was done. I was done for. Awful. Didn't want to have surgery. I'd always been skeptical about chiropractic care. I did a search. I found a place there in Homewood, in the heart of Homewood. Archetype Health, I was blown away. I didn't have to have surgery. I'm out of pain 2 years later. I'm still actually going there because it's not just a chiropractic clinic. It's total health when it comes to nutrition, performance, training. They have a state-of-the-art, the only one of its kind in the Southeast, altitude room, 17,000 mountaintop elevations you can simulate there. Archetype.health or 205-803-1234. 5 questions that may offend you. They may surprise you, but we always get them. This is what we call Pat Ponders. And it's brought to you by Alabama Roofing Professionals. They'll never disappoint you. They'll climb on your roof absolutely free of charge. No hidden fees or fine print, no obligation. Tell you you're good to go with that peace of mind on your investment, or maybe a repair, or maybe replace the roof. They're going to be fair, they're going to be honest, and they're going to warranty all the work they do. That blow-in insulation service, whether it's hot as you know what outside or cold as a inside during the winter. Alabama Roofing Professionals, the blow-in insulation service. It's we can speak to it, can't we, Pat?
Absolutely. No, they do a fantastic job, and it's been on my roof recently looking at some things. So, yes, call Mike and the fine folks there at Alabama Roofing Professionals.
205-722-ROOF.
722-ROOF. That's the number. Question number 1, it's pretty plain and simple. If Cam Newton had been vaccinated, would he still be on the Patriots roster?
If Cam Newton had been vaccinated, I'm going to say no. Cam Newton would not be on the Patriots roster. I think they saw the dynamic. They didn't want a divided locker room. They alluded, sources did, close to the program, that the command of the locker room maybe being a distraction is kind of what it was hinting at. I know he said all the right things about Mac Jones, but I think having Cam Newton there on the sideline, I think this sends a message to Mac Jones. You're our guy. We believe in you. And they didn't want Cam Newton around. That ship had sailed, and they're looking towards the future. So, no, had nothing to do with the vaccination.
Yes, because had he been vaccinated, he would not have missed those 5 days, correct?
That is correct.
Because he didn't test positive. He went, I guess, basically off-site, even though the organization told him to, but I guess he went off-site and had to, in essence, quarantine for a little bit. So I think the competition still would have been close enough, and I think Belichick would have tried to ride it out during the year. But because he missed and then Mac showed out, I think at that point the decision was made. I do think that him not being vaccinated probably aided in it, but I don't think it was the only reason. But that said, had he been vaccinated, this would have carried over, I think, into the season. I think Cam probably would have gotten the start, and as soon as he struggled, I think Mac would have been put in, but they still would have held on to him. Then after the Brady game, they realized, okay, Mac's our guy. They would have pushed out Cam then.
Interesting that the Patriots and now the Jaguars have all come out with statements saying that being vaccinated or not vaccinated had nothing to do with their final placement of the 53 players on the final roster. So again, Cam Newton no longer a Patriot. Question number 2. On this date in 2007, the Big Ten Network aired its first live football game.
37-yard field goal. This is it. This is it right here. Gensel ready. The snap's good. The whole kick. Oh! The kick is good. Oh! The Mountaineers are going to try to take it back to the big house. 30, 20, 15, 10. The Mountaineers have just beaten the Michigan Wolverines. The Mountaineers of Appalachian State have just beaten the Michigan Wolverines in the big house.
Now, of course, that was not audio from the Big Ten Network. That was Tom Brenneman who did the call of that, but that was from the Appalachian State radio broadcast. We all remember it on this date back in 2007. That just happened to be the first ever broadcast on the Big Ten Network. But App State, the Mountaineers, they pulled the upset over Michigan in what some consider the greatest upset in college football history. So I ask you guys, if Alabama loses to Miami on Saturday, does that loss constitute a top 5 biggest upsets in college football history? Bama currently a 19.5-point favorite.
I think that it probably does, and you have to look at it from several different angles. But based on what Nick Saban has built, what's coming back, the consistency of that program, where Miami was just 2 years ago, the talent at which they recruit, all of that factoring in, Nick Saban in openers. You mentioned the record there in Atlanta. Yeah, that's gonna be a top 5 upset for me all time. While what you got with Stanford and USC was incredible. Point spread was 41 points. I still think it would be a top 5 upset. And that just tells you, if you're a Miami fan, yes, how I truly do not believe that Miami wins this football game.
How about you, John? Top 5 upset?
Like, no way.
Maybe it's close because, heck, we mentioned one earlier with the Howard and UNLV one. I mean, that one's probably going to be up there. The USC Stanford one, James Madison getting Virginia Tech.
Yeah, but again, that's relative. And I know what you're saying with Howard taking on UNLV, but UNLV has been trash. I mean, trash for that.
Yeah,
UNLV wouldn't have a winning record in the FCS.
School. They still should have been.
Maybe not even Division II. Just saying.
I just don't know if a week 1 game, especially if Alabama could still win the championship and lose that game.
That's correct.
So
and Miami's a top 20 team.
Correct. So ultimately, I'm going to say no. It'll feel that way for quite a bit until Bama gets another win should they lose. But I don't think so, because when I'm thinking of big giant upsets like that, I'm thinking Texas over USC.
Well,
I'm thinking really Auburn over Alabama back in 2013. I mean,
what about Syracuse over Clemson on that Friday night?
Yeah, that was a big one.
But you want to talk about upset? You're going to just wait until Monday or Sunday. If that does indeed happen, the unthinkable, and Miami upsets Alabama and Atlanta, it's going to feel like the biggest upset in college football history.
And probably Miami cracks the top 5.
Well, yeah.
You think?
What do you think the national media is going to be saying? They're going to be celebrating it.
Oh, sure.
The U is back.
Oh, yeah. It's like when Texas wins a big game every 4
What
or 5
has happened
years.
to Alabama? That would be the narrative.
Well, before we move on to question number 3, one more time, John, because I want Landrum to listen closely, because I want Landrum to have this form of excitement when he's doing the Alabama High School Athletic Association Bowling Championships this year. One more time, App State over Michigan, September 1st, 2007.
37-yard field goal. This is it. This is it right here. Gensel ready. The snap's good. The whole kick. Oh! The kick is good. Oh! The Mountaineers are going to try to take it back to the big house. 30, 20, 15, 10. The Mountaineers have have just beaten the Michigan Wolverines.
Jeez.
The Mountaineers of Appalachian State have just beaten the Michigan Wolverines in the big house.
See, the voice cracks. You run out of breath. That's how you do a call.
The 7-10 split. I've seen heaven. Oh, my gosh.
It was the color analyst. He's the one that was running it. It wasn't the play-by-play.
You got to lay out there, dude. Lay out, let the guy have his call. But golly, the screaming.
Man, September 1st, 2007. Crazy day in college football. All right, question number 3. Instead of artificially keeping their 376 sellout streak intact, rich Nebraska boosters bought the remaining tickets for their game this weekend.
Yeah.
So should Nebraska just let the streak die organically?
But Pat, they're giving it to local kids. That's exactly why they did it, and no other reason whatsoever.
Exactly.
Okay.
Good folks up there, Heartland.
So it just so happens to make sure that the streak continues.
Oh, that was rather interesting, yeah.
And the kids will be able to benefit from it.
You know, Johnny Carson graduated from Nebraska.
That is correct.
I thought I'd throw that in there. Seemed like a good fellow. But that's not the last check that they're going to write this year, by the way.
I know. Like, how many times are they going to do this?
Well, no, they buy out Scott Frost's remaining
But, I mean,
contract.
should they let it die organically? I mean, what is your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you're in Nebraska. You don't have a whole lot of great streaks going for you. Keep the 376 alive.
But let's say it gets to, like, 380 or a 390 or even 400. Will it not be like an asterisk somewhere in history that, remember back in 2021 when the team sucked? We lost the first game to Illinois, ha. And,
we sold it out for Fordham?
Yeah, and a bunch of rich boosters, ended up buying 17,000 tickets.
It won't matter. There won't be an asterisk because nobody goes back and they look at that. And when they look at that number, they're just going to go with that number.
So you're
They're
basically putting a
numbers.
Band-Aid on a hemorrhaging situation. Is that what y'all are saying to me?
Yeah. Like I said, you don't have much going for you if you're Nebraska. Why not keep the streak alive and help those poor kids?
And still fascinates me what Landrum saw in them all those years ago to jump on that bandwagon for that 1 year.
I thought the Big Red was back, baby. They're not. I was wrong.
Hey, listen, at one time, Cole Kubelik thought NC State was going to make the college football playoff. So
it's true.
That's just.
And the guest we had last Friday is predicting North Carolina to make the college football playoff.
That is correct. And also our guest tomorrow, Brett Northworthy, thinks Ole Miss is going to win 9 games this year. So we'll continue that.
Yeah, by the way, I heard that their defense kind of getting trashed a little bit by some former football players that played in the Southeastern Conference. They said, don't believe the hype. Still a lot of the same Jimmy and Joes.
All right.
Jimmy's and Joes.
Speaking of Nebraska, question number 4 on Pat Ponders for this Wednesday. Should the University of Central Florida fans be happy with the struggles of Scott Frost?
Should they be happy?
Happy. Mm-hmm. Because they left them in the lurch. Left them in the middle of the night.
Won him a title.
No, I don't think so. I think that they understood. What changes it is they understood with a guy who played there, a guy who knew that program, stepping up. I think still UCF fans were realistic enough to realize that was always a possibility of him taking that job and then going home. I don't think they faulted him at all. Now, they might want him back. Depends on how things go tomorrow at UCF and Gus's debut against Boise. But no, I can't imagine that they're taking. There's probably some, but I would say the majority no.
Okay.
Are they happy about it? Probably not. But they're not sad about it. It's one of those, oh man, that sucks for him.
Yeah, it's terrible. Hated for him.
Probably sitting there like Kermit the Frog, just sipping their tea.
Glad that's not me.
Like you said, they did get a, air quotes, national championship.
That was on the field. I saw him beat off.
I saw the flag in Pat's office.
Yeah.
I do have a flag in my office that states that they are the national champions.
Golden Knights, just the regular Knights one.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't attach Golden.
All right, 5th and final question. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the PGA is seriously considering ejecting fans for mockingly yelling at golfers, like fans have recently done at Bryson DeChambeau by yelling Brooksy. Do you agree or disagree with this possible policy?
you know what?
Sad thing, I kind of actually agree with it. In theory, it's dumb and really stupid. But this sport has set itself up to be stodgy and old-fashioned and, we're the people that we don't get in here and cheer for the... No, we don't. They don't do any of that. So it's perfectly in line with them. So with that, because I think they kick people off for cursing there. Well, excuse me, they kick out the patrons for cursing there. Obviously, Tiger can go out there and have a bad swing and drop F-bombs, but heck, he's Tiger. But for fans to do that, fans should be allowed to do that. But in that realm, they've set it up. They set up that basically mindset of sorry, we're going to be better than everyone, and this is how we are. So on the surface, it looks and sounds stupid, but that's golf. That's what you sign up for when you go.
No, I totally disagree with this. I think that, no, the PGA should not do this. If they're yelling it during his swing, that's one thing. If they're yelling it while he's walking, tee to, fairway to green, whatever, no, absolutely not. That's not a problem. I think it makes it more entertaining. I think this is on Bryson DeChambeau. Why don't you be a little more mentally tough? Why don't you try to get your anger in check, go to therapy, and I don't know what's causing the rage that you have and going after fans. You're bigger than that. Come on, you're a professional. Do you think Major League Baseball outfielders, Rob Manfred, should say, hey, Cub fans, don't yell at the Cardinals outfielder when he's out there? What do you think those guys put up with?
They put up with a lot.
Yeah, college football, college kids standing on the sideline. He's a paid athlete. He's making millions of dollars in endorsements, not to mention what he's made in career earnings there on the tour. Toughen up, Buttercup.
Yeah, but in baseball, they want that. They want you to cheer. They want you to boo the whole time. In golf, shh, he's thinking. Please be quiet while he's thinking.
So stupid.
In tennis, hold on. The players need silence because they got to figure out how to. No, if you've set up your sport to be like that, and so this is the repercussion from it.
Yeah, but
in football, you can cheer the whole time, and that's why we love this sport. But
how many eyeballs did you draw though with the whole Koepka and DeChambeau storyline?
Oh, plenty.
You drew plenty. You needed more people watching your sport engaged because some of the star power had been lost.
Yeah.
And now you're going to shut it down? No. Keep it going.
No, you need to fan that flame.
Bubba Watson being a you-know-what head.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's stupid, but this is what golf has set up. This is why baseball fans were mad when you have the runner on second in the in extra innings. This is the rules you established. We're old, we're stodgy, and now you go to change it, and all the old guards like, whoa, back in my day, no, well, heck no, I don't like that. No. This is the bed you made. You get to lie in it now. You didn't want to be welcoming and allowing people to go out and cheer and do all of that. Well, this is what happens. Now you look stupid in doing it. But this is the rules you established, so at least you're being consistent, so I'll give you that.
That's today's Pat Ponders.
Brought to you by Alabama Roofing Professionals, 205-722-ROOF, alroofpros.com. Ryan Callahan, VolQuest, tells us how new starting quarterback Joe Milton might shock the world with his opening performance tomorrow versus Bowling Green. Ryan is next. It's Three-Man Front. We are Jocks 94.5.
Three-Man Front, weekdays.
Right here on Jocks.
Jocks 94.5.
11:27, it's a Three-Man Front, Jocks 94.5, JocksFM.com. Cleaning up something from earlier, one of our great listeners on the guy who, I can't believe I'm actually going back to this, but he corrected me. I want to get it out there. Hector Elizondo.
May rest in peace.
Yeah. Oh, did he pass?
Some time ago, yeah.
Sorry. Okay, moment of silence for Hector. But he did play the hotel manager there in Pretty Woman. A great film. Richard Gere, Julia Roberts, and Jason Alexander. We do have college football news that we've been passing along. In case you missed it, Jimbo Fisher gets the contract extension. 2030 is where the extension takes him. So Nick Saban till 28. They're going to make sure that he's there long enough to try to beat Saban at least once, Pat, and then build in a couple more years for that run and that dynasty that he's building in College Station, Bryant College Station.
Well, again, the season sets up perfectly schedule-wise for Jimbo and Texas A&M getting Alabama at Kyle Field. They should be undefeated if the chalk holds in regards to their season before Bama comes down to Texas.
How would you like a private Pepsi Zoom happy hour with your favorite Jocks host? Go to JocksFM.com now to enter for your chance to win. We're going to draw one lucky winner on September 13th thanks to our friends at Pepsi. because we know everything is better with Pepsi. Register today for your chance to win a special Zoom call and a delicious Pepsi product. Jock's better with Pepsi. That's what I like. Ryan Callahan. He covers the Tennessee Vols for Vols 247. He joins us now on the Michelob Ultra Hotline. Ryan, hope you're doing well. We're one day away from the debut of Josh Heupel. Joe Milton, the transfer from Michigan. We've seen him a little bit. He's a big guy. Is this the coming out party? Does all of college football have the awakening of Joe Milton being the guy that nobody saw coming in this Josh Heupel offense?
I think this has kind of been the vision since back in April when they were recruiting him when he was in the transfer portal. And, he announced his commitment pretty quickly after spring practice ended. So I think that told you even before the end of spring practice, Tennessee thought it needed not only more competition at quarterback, but maybe a guy who can take them to another level. I think they feel Milton gives them some upside that the other guys just might not at this point, whether that's Harrison Bailey, still a young guy, developing, talented kid, but started 3 games last year and probably still needs to continue to mature in his game. And then Hendon Hooker, the Virginia Tech transfer, talented guy, has played a lot of games at Virginia Tech, but just maybe didn't stretch the field the way they wanted to this spring. Milton, you don't have that problem with him, certainly. He's got a cannon of an arm, can run well, built like a defensive end, listed at 244 pounds. So there's a lot to like about him, and I think Tennessee feels that he gives this passing game just another dimension maybe that they don't have with the other guys right now. So upside, but he's still got to go out and prove it. As you said, will this be his coming out party? I don't know, but certainly set up to have some early success against the Bowling Green team that not a lot of people are expecting to be very good, at least to start the year.
And you said it. I mean, you're building confidence, and you're given the opportunity for the fans to see what kind of offense that obviously Josh Heupel has implemented there on Rocky Top. So what are some of the other storylines on the offensive side of the ball outside of the quarterback situation that you just mentioned that you guys have kind of been focused on in regards to the development of this football team?
Yeah, really, there's so many. I've kind of put it to people this way. Name Tennessee's 5 best players going into this season. If you ask 5 different Tennessee fans, I'm not sure you get the same answer from any 2 people because there's just so much unknown about this team. So every position group, there really is a storyline. At wide receiver, obviously this is an offense that wants to throw it, wants to stretch the field. They've got a couple guys who've done it before and had some production last year with Bayless Jones Jr. and Jalen Hyatt, but even there, some new guys. Cedric Tillman, getting his first chance to be a starter this year in his 4th year in the program. Javonte Payton, the Mississippi State transfer, and then young guys behind him like Jimmy Callaway that still could definitely make an impact this year. At running back, a very an inexperienced group, depending on what you think of those guys, might vary with how much excitement you have about them. But I think certainly Jabari Small and Tyon Evans are 2 guys Tennessee's coaches think can play and have had a good offseason. So I think that group has some upside there that people might not know, just because Eric Gray and Ty Chandler did all the heavy lifting last year pretty much at running back, and those guys are now gone. So that's certainly a storyline worth watching. And then on maybe a concern for the offense, that offensive line. They lost a lot of depth at that position with Jameer Johnson and Wanye Morris hitting the transfer portal, Trey Smith and Brandon Kennedy no longer around. They still have some talent with former 5-stars Cade Mays and Darnell Wright at tackle, but it's a much thinner group, and it took a hit even during preseason camp by losing K'Ron Calvert, a guy that they thought would provide some depth at tackle. So not a lot of depth there up front. They need to stay healthy. So really position groups across the offense that have some interesting storylines with this team.
All right, so since the spring and kind of adjusting the numbers, looking at what the roster looked like with the departures of some of the guys that you just mentioned, right now, if Tennessee coaches are being realistic and looking at their schedule, what do you think the expectation is? What would be the ceiling, or wow, this would be an incredible, great year if we could get to this win total?
I think, coaches may see it differently. I've certainly talked to coaches in the past who thought the expectations were maybe lower than they could be based on what they could do in year one. But I think the staff sees a winning season as a realistic possibility. I think a lot of fans see a winning season being a real possibility. I think 8 wins is at least a realistic goal that's out there, but a lot of things have got to fall into place for Tennessee to get there. For one thing, this schedule is not very difficult by Tennessee standards. They've had some really tough schedules in past years. This one not so bad. The toughest game in non-conference play is Pittsburgh, which is kind of a toss-up game, but a very important one for this team next week. They've got to get ready for that one, and that's probably the biggest thing coming out of this game tomorrow night is, assuming Bowling Green doesn't give them a scare, just get some confidence going into that Pittsburgh game. And then in conference play, it's the same story it's been for Tennessee for most of the past several years. Can they beat the Kentuckys, the Missouris, South Carolina, Vanderbilt? Those are 4 games that are maybe winnable, especially if this offense is noticeably better this year and puts up quite a few points. But if they can win a couple of those games, they're a 500-ish team. If they win all 4, maybe they get to 8 wins. So that's probably the upside to me. But a lot of things have to go right for this team to get there, including they've got to stay healthy because their depth just isn't what it was a year ago.
A lot of people might be surprised when you look back to last season, statistically speaking, the defense was right in the middle in regards to the statistical categories with defense, 7th in the SEC in overall defense. Talk to us about that side of the football this year and who some of the playmakers might be going into the fall.
Yeah, Tennessee's defense is a complete unknown, I think, for a lot of people. They just don't have a lot of proven guys who are stars or major playmakers. I think they've got a couple they feel like they can count on. Certainly, Alontae Taylor at cornerback is going to be thought of as one of the best defensive players Tennessee has. Matthew Butler on the defensive line has played a lot of football. And then, at linebacker, you bring in one of 6 transfers they added on defense after spring practice, Juwan Mitchell, a former starter at Texas. He's going to start for Tennessee, too. I think they feel, some guys like that certainly are very capable of being productive players, but because it's a new system under Tim Banks, a guy that hasn't been a coordinator calling plays at least the past several years, we don't know exactly what to expect from that group, and just so many guys who just haven't done it at the level that we really know we can say they're going to be good players in the SEC. Tyler Barron, a second-year guy that showed some flashes last year, but now needs to be one of Tennessee's best defensive players as a sophomore. So they've kind of got storylines like that throughout the defense, much like on offense. And some guys on defense that have played a lot, some seniors in the secondary and on the defensive line. But Trayvon Flowers is a good example, and he's had a great camp at safety. But as a senior, we really don't know that they can count on him as a star. Can he take things to another level? So that's kind of the storyline for this team. I think they've got some upside maybe that people haven't seen in them, but again, they're just an unknown until further notice. And I think the thought most people have is this is going to be a high-scoring team. That defense just needs to force some turnovers or give them a few stops per game to sort of allow the offense to win it. I think that's what people think the model is going to be. But we'll see if they can execute that, but it's at least an attainable goal when you don't set the bar too high like that.
All right, Ryan, outside of Tennessee and your coverage of the Vols, what's one storyline for this college football weekend or one question you have that you would like to see answered?
I'm just fascinated by that Georgia-Clemson game, obviously. I think that one's going to be a lot of fun. Can Georgia be, the national title contender, that kind of team that people are thinking they might be, or is this a team that's, just going to be fortunate to win the SEC East? I think that's one that we'll maybe get an answer on that to some degree this weekend. I think that's certainly one that early on I'm eager to find out. And then, just can anyone surprise us in the SEC East? I'm interested to see how Missouri, Kentucky, those types of teams look. But can somebody besides Florida or Georgia emerge in that division? It seems like it's a pretty wide open field. I think most people are thinking Missouri or Kentucky can be that third team, but I wonder if someone will sort of separate themselves from the pack eventually, and if we'll see signs of that this weekend.
All right, he is Ryan Callahan. You can follow him on Twitter at Ryan Callahan247, part of GoVols247.com. Ryan, we appreciate it. Enjoy the game tomorrow. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, guys.
Ryan Callahan joining us on the Michelob Ultra Hotline, a superior light beer with low calories, low carbs, and zero fat. Live life to the ultra. You want to go see the Black Crowes live in concert to kind of wrap up, I guess, the weekend. We got a game coming up on Sunday, but also a game coming up on Monday, the college football weekend. You can do so. The Black Crowes live in concert coming up at the Oak Mountain Amphitheater. That is this Sunday, September the 5th at 8 o'clock. The Shake Your Moneymaker World Tour. It's actually going to be here after missing out in 2020. 800-239-WJOX. 800-239-WJOX. 834-9450. Third caller, you win the tickets. And also, we have the worst thing that I've seen. It comes your way next. Three-Man Front and Jocks 94.5.
This is Three-Man Front.
11:43, Pat Smith keeping an eye on the weather in our storm center, our storm tracker here at Jocks 94.5, because that's what we're trained to do. Some may think that's what we should do. Love you, guy. There's nothing wrong with that. It's Three-Man Front, Jocks 94.5. Hope you're doing well. We've got all kinds of news that is breaking around just the college football landscape. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of bad things around the country, around the world. There's no exception here. We try to do it as much as we can. Unfortunately, we have to pass this news along to you. This is the worst thing that I've seen.
All right, guys, earlier this week, Arizona State University fans sounded off on their school's mascot. We're all familiar with that, Sparky the Sun Devil. It's being included on a list that is the most offensive college mascots in the country.
Oh, man.
That's right. It's one of the most offensive, according to this survey. If they were so riled up about this simple survey, many are probably really not going to like the petition that is going around that calls for Arizona State to change its Sun Devils nickname. The suggested change? Sun Angels.
What?
The petition states what once might have been viewed as acceptable is now just plain demonic. Anyone with an ounce of Christian belief will have a hard time pledging allegiance to, being loyal to, or spending money with the devil. With every t-shirt, souvenir, and game ticket they sell, they solidify their consent that idolizing the devil is just fine with them. This must stop. And the solution is a simple one. ASU can simply flip the switch and rename their teams the Sun Angels.
Isn't idolatry, so if you're a diehard Arizona State fan, would that not be idolatry? I mean, are you necessarily just idolizing the mascot that apparently was based, and this is rumor, that it was based on Walt Disney's facial features? Did you know this?
I did not.
Yeah, Bert Anthony is actually the guy. He was a Disney illustrator who went to Arizona State. He was the one who came up with this character. And the story has it that, yeah, Walt Disney was the inspiration for some of the facial features, or the facial features there on the face. And I can kind of see it now because look at the little mustache.
Yeah.
That is Walt Disney.
I wouldn't go that far, but...
Well, I mean, minus the yellow and the horns.
Okay.
So you're telling me
the foam
that
face.
Every bit of money that's spent on the paraphernalia for Arizona State...
You're supporting the devil.
...is literally going down some kind of pneumatic tube down to the underworld to finance the devil and his enterprises?
It says, in direct opposition to the Sun Devil moniker, the University Track and Field Stadium is already named the Sun Angel Stadium and is considered one of the finer facilities of its kind in the country, so they want to rename Sun Devil Stadium to Sun Angel Stadium.
Now, to be fair, this is kind of what Coach Herm did in his introductory press conference. He kind of said, as a good old Catholic boy, I don't know if I can support the devil. In his introductory presser, this was the coach.
According to the Arizona Republic newspaper, they have conducted a survey, and they asked its readers, do you think Arizona State needs to change its mascot nickname? At 91.6%, would you guys like to take a guess at what the answer was?
Not only no, but hell no.
Wait a minute.
That would have been funny. That would have been funny. That would have been real funny. It was, of course not. 91.6% said, no way. That's ridiculous. Do not change the name. 2.1% said maybe it should. And 6.3% said, yes, it's time to make a change. So overall, about 8% of the readers that actually participated in this poll said that they should change the name of the Sun Devils to Sun Angels.
So if you're dendrophobic, which is the fear of trees, are you offended by the Stanford mascot? I guess you are.
I guess so.
It scares you and you can't watch it.
3,000 signatures have been placed on this petition.
This is going to move the needle.
To change the name of the Arizona State Sun Devils. Many of the signers of the petition expressed in the comments that they signed the petition because they can't support the devil and that a more positive mascot would be better for Arizona State University.
If you had to drop devil out of it, would you just have the Arizona Suns? Arizona State Suns? Or the Arizona State Sun? I don't know.
Would
Maybe that's the name of the local paper.
Would the Phoenix Suns have a problem with
Probably. I'm sure they would. They'd probably get sued, but this is silly. So are we going to get this from the folks that they're at Duke?
As Ryan Key on Twitter pointed out, what about Duke and Wake
Blue
Forest?
Devils. Yeah. Demon Deacons?
And again, Wake Forest was the first Baptist university in the United States.
I know Notre Dame's Leprechaun made the list of offensive mascots.
86.5% of a poll about offensive mascots said that Sparky was not offensive at all. 86% of those persons in that poll said that it was not offensive at all. But again, over 3,000 people have signed a petition to do away with the Arizona State Sun Devil nickname.
You think of any other nicknames that people could find offensive?
I'm
for
sure
a college mascot. I mean, everybody can find something, but
Gutterball,
right?
Cowboy. Some people find those offensive.
Yeah, well, General.
And that's just offensive, period.
Mount.
I'm sure, it's every couple of years, Ole Miss goes through some type of potential name change.
Where are my Mountaineers coming down and taking offense to what West Virginia? I mean, that's a proud heritage there, the Mountaineer people. The Wild Whites of West Virginia. We've seen that. So stupid.
So that's the worst thing that I've seen.
If you get 30,000 or 40,000 people that are actually buying tickets to Arizona State football games to sign the petition, that would probably move the needle if those are season ticket holders. But 3,000 folks to sign their name to a piece of paper, that's not going to do it. I wouldn't think.
No.
How would you like a private Pepsi Zoom happy hour with your favorite Jocks host? You can go to JocksFM.com now. Enter for your chance to win. We're going to draw one lucky winner on September the 13th, thanks to our friends at Pepsi. Now, because we know everything is better with Pepsi, register today for your chance to win a special Zoom call and delicious Pepsi product. Jocks better with Pepsi. That's what I like. We heard from a few Alabama players yesterday. Also, if you missed it, what Urban Meyer had to say that has caused so much controversy in the NFL. This is what we call Coach Speak, and it's brought to us by our friends at Pat's Archery and Outdoors. Good news, dove season is here, and Pat's Archery and Outdoors has you ready with shotguns from Browning and Benelli, and get the Mojo Voodoo dove decoy for just $29 in bow season just around the corner. Let Pat's technicians tune up your bow so you're ready to go. Pat's Archery and Outdoors, Highway 78 in Jasper. Evan Neal, talented offensive lineman for the Alabama Crimson Tide, talking about the D-line of the Hurricanes that he'll be facing on Saturday.
Those guys have a lot of experience. The ends definitely have a lot of length, and I'm just excited to go out there and just to match up with those guys and go out there and compete.
Also, linebacker Christian Harris from the state of Louisiana. He was asked about how his family was doing. Luckily, his family there in Louisiana, they're okay, but others there certainly suffering from the effects and what happened, the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. But Christian Harris was also asked about the difference in last year's defensive group versus what we could see this year.
I think with our defense last year, we had a really great group of guys who, could really play well together and, had great communication. I think it's the same thing this year. Of course, we had different players, but I think, just focusing on the communication and keeping the speed up is, one of the main things. And I think we're doing pretty well with that right now.
Okay. Urban Meyer, head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, in hot water again with just something he said. He could have ended it, shut it down, but now you have an open investigation by the NFLPA. He was asked on how they determined who would be cut from the 53-man roster when all NFL teams had to trim down their rosters yesterday.
Everyone was considered. That was part of the production. Let's start talking about this, and then also is he vaccinated or not? Can I say that was a decision maker? Was certainly in consideration.
Not good. How many other NFL teams, like their notes or maybe their emails exchanges, they're like, all right, burn the hard drives, destroy them right now. That's Coach Speak, brought to you by Pat's Archery and Outdoors. Pat's Archery and Outdoors is your personal protection specialist with handguns, rifles, shotguns, plus ammo arriving daily. 12 months, same as cash financing. Pat's Archery and Outdoors, Highway 78 in Jasper.
Chip Kelly was meeting with the media this morning in Los Angeles, California, prior to their practice, and he had this to say: "This is our Super Bowl in preparation against LSU." So Chip Kelly throwing a little pressure there on the old Bruins, saying that this was their Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, huh?
Against LSU.
It is his Super Bowl. It'd be the biggest win he's had since arriving there in L.A.
Maybe the biggest game of consequence that they've played.
Yeah.
Since Chip
the
Kelly's
equipment
been
truck
there.
for LSU already on the road, heading out.
Left Houston, didn't it?
Yeah. And the team, they're going to be flying out tomorrow before playing the Bruins on Saturday. Matt McLaren Show. It's next here on Jocks 94.5.
This is 3 Man Front on Jocks 94.5.